speaking of problems in states, y'all remember the "Don't Say Gay" bill?
Don't
Well,
say gay
expect that rhetoric to be picked up even harder
bill. Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Florida expands "Don't Say Gay" House OK's anti-LGBTQ bills. From Tallahassee, Florida Republican Ron DeSantis added more wins to his agenda targeting the LGBTQ plus community, and as a state board approved an expansion of what critics call the "Don't Say Gay" on Wednesday, in the House passed bills on gender transition treatments, bathroom use, and keeping children out of drag shows. The Board of Education approved a ban on classroom instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity in all grades, expanding the law that bans those lessons up to three in the request of DeSantis and as he gears up for an expected presidential run. The real change would ban lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity from grades 4 to 12 unless required by existing state standards or as part of a reproductive health instruction that students can choose not to take. Um, that's a time when students are becoming aware of their sexuality. The proposal will take effect after a procedural notice period that allows about a month, according to that lasts about a month, according to the Education Department spokesperson. DeSantis administration put forward the proposal last month as part of the Republicans' aggressive conservative agenda. I love the framing in that one, with the governor leaning heavily into cultural divides ahead of his looming White House candidacy. Um, it's whatever with that. The rest of it's just trying to attack him again for that. But yeah, I don't honestly, I don't know how I feel about this one.
Okay. Okay. So I was thinking about this, right? But I also was thinking about my own high school days, which seem to be very far behind me at this point. But what like over 10 years ago. But at the same, so like when we were coming up, it's like we didn't have like a lesson on gay people. You just met gay people in your life and like just came across it not like naturally or organically or whatever. Nobody ever had to sit me down and be like, okay, so gay people exist. It's like, no, I just learned of that throughout the course of my life. It's not, I was just like, okay, like moving on now, like don't care. And so it's really interesting to me that anybody actually thinks that kids need to like be taught this in school as part of curriculum. I don't see the need for it. I don't see the need for like gender identity or anything like that. I just, it's like it was never something that was ever talked about in our school. In our reproductive class, it was focused on like like actual reproduction and what happens, and like some talk of like safe practices and stuff like that, but it didn't get very graphic, and it was just kind of, it was rolled into a health class basically. So it's just part of our normal health class, and then they talked about like drugs and stuff like that too, but I don't know.
You know
So
what?
that's where I'm at. It's like I'm honestly at the point where I don't even think sex ed should be in school because they're doing such a horrible job at it. It's like, no, like leave it up to parents. That's where I'm
You know
at.
what? We forgot to cut everything, so we're still running on a screw it. Let's just keep it going because yeah, this will be good for your channel as well. We'll play it safe until we get off YouTube.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's. Oh, actually, we're gonna have to cut it early because there's a little bit of extra I'm gonna throw in there before we actually cut YouTube altogether. But yeah, I actually kind of want to disagree a little bit. Hold on. Stacy says, I get that sex education could be improved, but this is the wrong way of going about it. I actually agree. I do because I do have friends that are gay. I do have friends that are lesbians. Had they have not known about the attraction to same sex growing up, they would have been confused as to why everybody's all, "Ooh, I want this person, I want that person," and they feel nothing towards that, but they feel everything towards somebody else. They start thinking, "What's wrong with me?" That whole, you want to talk about gender confusion, sexual orientation confusion would become a thing then, because people don't know that. gay and lesbian exist until you grow up and you find out about it on your own. And because you found out about it on your own, well, there is something wrong with me then. You know, it,
Dude, I
it
completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with that premise. You really think that like okay, growing up, like I have a gay uncle. So it's like that was just part of like normal, like people didn't really talk about it a whole lot, but I mean my family is freaking weird anyway and very dysfunctional. So um but like the idea that like nobody encounters anyone, you don't encounter anyone who's gay or like, or like I don't know. I just don't really,
if it's a
I don't
taboo
think
topic
that's
like this, you're not going to talk about it. If you can
well,
go to jail for talking about something like this, you won't talk about it.
okay. So well, I don't so let me frame this. What do you think sex ed should be? Like what should it consist of? Because personally only think it should consist of like reproductive information, and then like parents should be talking to their kids about sexual relations.
Well,
So
I
I think it's
do
inappropriate for
agree.
teachers to do it.
I do agree. This should be left up to the parents to go into detail with it, but there should be a broad generalization. Like my sex ed growing up in school was, this is the male anatomy, this is the female anatomy. They go together like this. Don't do
Mhm.
that, or you're gonna wind up pregnant or get AIDS. You know, that's not the best way to do it, because you're just scaring people, and then those people just, well, this is taboo. This is not something I'm supposed to do. Let's do it anyway, because humankind, if you tell them no, they're gonna do it. That's the thing. Um, you just got to be open and honest about it. You know, look, this is the way reproduction is. However, there
Mhm.
are people that don't fall in those lines, and it's fine. You know, nobody really does care. Well, there are people that care, but they're the crazies that should be. I'm not gonna say shunned from society, but it should at least be, the fringe should at least be kind of mocked. You know,
Mhm.
but
So should teachers be having those conversations? A essential stranger to your child?
I want to say yes and say no at the same time, because are parents going to have those conversations with kids? My
Well, they should
parents never
be.
had that conversation with me,
Yeah, but that's
because
their
it was
failing.
exactly, it was they felt embarrassed talking about this thing, but it is your
Mhm.
responsibility as a parent to do it. The way I found out about it was, of course, through sexual education through school, and
Do
so
you
there's
think,
that.
say something else, say like the adult industry or
Yeah,
something,
yeah, you're right.
that
I
it's a
apologize.
it's a
Adult
it's
movies.
a it's a naughty word, here on the self-censorship of YouTube. Anyway,
You can go ahead and
um,
cut that little section out later.
I don't go back through these. I just let them sit. But no, like so. Here's my thing. I think a lot of parents have gotten extremely lazy when it comes to what they are actually teaching their kids and the conversations that they're having, because they are relying on the education system, the public education system, to do that job for them. And I think that if I really do think, especially with like the way millennials are, and we're just a much more open generation in general. I think that we as parents would be much more willing to have these conversations. And like myself, I want to be the one having these conversations with my kids. I don't want any other weird person. I don't want any teachers. I want like, myself and my husband to have these really important dialogues and discussions with our children when we think it's appropriate, or when something is brought up, something happens organically, we need to talk about it. I think that's really important for parents to be doing that. But again,
Right.
because of the way the public education system is, and that it's all kind of, parents just get lazy and they're just like, oh, I don't have to teach that because school will teach them. Like, I mean, even the like just basic fundamental type things of like, dialing it way back to like your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3. Like, how many kids don't learn that because parents are like, oh, they'll learn in kindergarten. It's like, what are you talking? Like my 3-year-olds have known the ABCs for like a year now. It's like
Mhm.
it actually just frustrates me because it just makes parents really lazy and they're not doing their jobs. So that's where I'm at. Also, the whole reason that we have sexual education within public schools is because of Alfred Kinsey. And I've been working on this deep dive for a really long time about Kinsey, and I'm going to do it. I've just been like, I don't know, over analyzing myself with it. So, but I'm gonna do it and kind of explain to you guys why that's a big problem. But yeah,
And that's when you're gonna have to tiptoe around as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm good with my words. I'm good.
But
TikTok trained me well because they're
I mean,
very sensitive over there. So I've learned how to tiptoe fairly well.
but I mean, this is an elective kind of situation. You can have your kids, they do allow the parents to opt out if they want to, which is a good thing. Even growing up in it, with my education as far as that goes, we were allowed to opt in or opt out. The parent did have to choose. So I mean, I'll give them that. That is a great thing. But to just say straight out like, no, we can't talk about this. Look, I understand that it's supposed to stop and indoctrination towards these children because, like you said, these strangers have access to kids. But what about the good people that could actually do some good with these kids? And the parents just don't want to do their job. You're stopping the good people from acting and the good people from teaching these kids, look, this is the way it really is. This is what it's really is. There are outliers in this whole situation. You just got to take it as it goes. That kind of situation.
I
You're
just
putting that at risk as well.
I don't trust teachers anymore. I
I
really don't.
don't either,
I don't.
but I do know there
And
are some that are out there that are really good teachers.
they're good teachers, and I don't discredit them or discount them. But the problem is that now things have just gotten so overboard that like hard lines just have to be taken, and that's just where I'm at. Like, I don't know. Again, just me being a good parent, wanting to be very involved in my kids' lives, me being like trying not to be a helicopter parent. It's just something that it's like, no, like, do not talk to my children about these things. Like, I will do it. That is my job. That's my job as a parent. And I think that's probably just where like I'm just really biased in that sense. Is just because I take such a priority with my level of responsibility, and a lot of parents just don't do that. So I am very biased on this issue. But yeah, it's just, that's the thing is like, because I wouldn't like skirt around the fact that people are gay or anything like that. Like I don't have a problem with gay people. Live your life, man.
No.
And I think that's where people get confused. They're like, oh, you just don't want your kids to know gay people exist. It's like, no, I don't think that they need to be bashed over the head with it when they enter the kindergarten door. Like, I don't think it's something that is, appropriate in that sense.
I do think that sexual education should begin a little bit before puberty to let them know, look, your body's going to go through some changes. It's going to feel weird. You're going to be screwed in the head for a little bit. And this is why it's okay, And everybody goes through that. Let's just be honest with each other. We all felt weird through puberty. Every single one of us is just like, what's happening?
Yeah, and that's a big problem right now, is that they're acting like any kid who's uncomfortable during puberty, now all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you're uncomfortable in your body. Oh, you must be trans. You must have a different gender identity because you're uncomfortable. It's like, no, it's not a normal part of human development. Anyway, Andrew Rowland, $9.99 super chat. Just because there are good teachers doesn't absolve the parents' responsibility to teach the important stuff. A teacher should only teach reading, writing, and math. I'm assuming you meant to say, and nothing else. Thank you so much for that super chat. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's merit with like, there's probably curriculums that involve like, family, and all families are different and stuff like that. And I think that's fine. I do think like, that's the thing, is that encompasses a lot more than like just LGBTQ mafia. It also encompasses like just broken families in general. You got a mom and a dad, and they're divorced and remarried. So you got step parents, and like, so I think some of those courses kind of just talk about stuff like that, family dynamics, breakdowns, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with like the overtly like sexual stuff and like the hardcore gender identity specifically, because I just don't think it's a topic that needs to be discussed within school. But and I think a lot of teachers waste a lot of time and resources on this, and there's just been so many who are trying to do it secretly. That's a big problem.
Yes. And, for the most part, I will agree as well. And that's why, I said I'm okay with it being an elective. If you don't want your child to know or to be taught these things from strangers, okay, cool. But if you don't want to have these kinds of conversations with your kids, either they're going to say you take that away from them, you take that elective away from them, and you don't have this conversations. Either your kids are going to grow up not knowing a thing, and little boys are just going to stick their in anything. Then you're going to have a very young minor pregnant. You're going to
Well,
have
yeah,
kids
well,
having kids in that situation because they don't know any better. So there
well,
has
and
to be
that's
some kind of give and take somewhere. If you don't want the responsibility as a parent to do that, somebody else has to do that. Now, is that somebody else a blue-haired nut schizo that's got LGBTQ flags everywhere? No. No, that should never be a thing. You should never be around children because you're only going to push that ideology. If it was somebody who is reasonable and can say, look, there is a difference. There are different outlyings, and you will find people that are same-sex attracted. You will find people that are attracted to everything. If you had somebody that was, and it would be hard to find a person that would just fake these kinds of psychological profiles just to get into these positions. I understand. It happens a lot, especially with schizophrenics and psychotics. They have the ability to skirt around these kinds of profiling situations, but it still needs to happen, or kids on their own are just going to be having kids at an alarming rate. So
right, and that's why parents need to step up. So that's just where I'm at. Is I'm sick and tired of people relying on the state to raise their children for them. If you want that to be the reality, then why did you have children in the first place if you don't want to actually parent them? And I'm more keen on kind of just like taking on that battle of being like, step up. These are your children. You need to have these conversations. It is not 1950 anymore. You need to be open. You need to be honest. You need to talk about it either when it arises or as like a preliminary thing or whatever. But the thing is too, is like I had people in my life who like kind of, I don't know, had the weird version of like the talk with me. Like my older brother, kind of was like, hey, like just try to have some self-respect essentially. And he kind of said some stuff like that to me, but like, so it's, I don't know. I guess it's just, to me, it's like, yeah. I mean, there's parents, there's older siblings, there's, I'm sure cousins and stuff like that, like aunts, uncles. Like that's the thing, is people have just become so divided.
by the way,
I'm the guy you talked to on Twitter about piercings, by the way. I have no idea, my friend. I have a lot of conversations on the Twitter. So, but cool. I'm glad we talked about piercings. I like piercings. So, a lot of people are not a fan. That's okay. But anyway, yeah, like, I don't know. I'm just sick of living in a society where everyone's like, oh, it's not my job. Somebody else's job. Like, no, it's your freaking job. It's your kids. Take care of them. That's where I'm at. Andrew Rowland, $4.99. Thank you so much. My dad gave me the talk about sex as a freshman, and then my private school talked about how babies are made when we are seniors. That's like really late. Interesting. Because like at my school, you sat through like a STI video 2 years in a row. It started in like 6th grade. So we were like, what, 12? Maybe even 5th grade. What? Yeah, you had to like look at all the stupid pictures. I don't think I went either day. I think I skipped school those days. But yeah, I think it was either 5th and 6th grade or 6th and 7th grade. Anyway, and then once you got into high school, you had health class freshman year, and like that taught you about like it was more in depth, taught you about reproduction. You had to take the babies home and take care of them for 3 days, and they cried all of the time. And then we had like this crack baby. That was literally what it was called. That you like, if you couldn't take a baby home, you had to take care of the crack baby in class, and it was 10 times harder because it was like a drug addicted simulated baby. So and that thing was, oh my god, it cried all the time. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we had to do.
So you were the one taking care of the crack baby?
No, I took a baby home. I had it for like 2 or 3 days, and our babies were like janky compared to like the babies that some schools do now. Like some schools, like you actually have to like feed the baby. What we had to do was it was like a key hole in its back, and you had like a little key. So when it cried, you had to just turn the key and keep it until it stopped crying. Yeah, that's what you had to do. So it was just like basically mimicking like the motion of like your kid is crying, you have to pick them up and like deal with them for a certain amount of time, but it didn't actually you didn't have to like actually change the diaper, you didn't have to actually like do that kind of stuff. You just had to hold the key until it stopped crying.
What is that gonna teach you about taking care of a baby?
I don't know. It just was an annoyance, really. I thought it was stupid. And then like a couple years later, they had much more like better, much more better. They had better babies come out, and I think my school had like bought a few. And those ones you actually did have to like hold the bottle in their mouth and change their diaper, and they had sensors. And and I think like the babies that we had, it did have like some type of sensor, like it could tell if you weren't like, if you just like left your baby laying somewhere for too long, it could like tell, and it monitored that, and it would like spit out like a bunch of data at the end. They would download it and be like, you're a horrible parent.
You know what mine was while I was in junior high? And it's the weirdest thing. It was actually pretty cool now that I think about it, but I thought it was incredibly weird. We had to take care of eggs. Now,
some people had to do that. Yeah.
Our sex ed teacher owned a farm. So these aren't like store-bought eggs, of course. So he used the eggs his own chickens came across. Well, 3 of them hatched because apparently the people took really good care of them. All you had to do was just make sure the egg didn't break. There was
some of them were like put like a light on them and like having a little nice nest, like all warm and cozy.
Yeah, apparently that's what they did, and 3 of them actually hatched chicks. And I was like, "That's okay. That does bring it home babies a little further, but
no,
why did you go that far for an egg?"
Congratulations. That's so funny. That's cool though.
My wife is over here on Rumble. She said we had a bag of flour. There was a half Mexican, and he used a bag of masa.
That's old school, bro. That's like super old school. What's funny is like, I don't know, just the whole thing, like it frustrates me to no end that parents are just so hands off in this regard. It's like these are like one of the most important things like about your kids growing up. Like you don't want them like when parents refuse to talk about their kids to this, Stacy, I can't remember. Kids actually took care of eggs, and that was just a South Park episode. No, that was like a real thing that happened in like a lot of schools. You more so in like I feel like Gen X days, but once the millennials came around, they were like, "Here, have these baby dolls." But I don't know.
Templar
I just think
left a message on Rumble saying, "Hey, Rumble fam, what's up, Templar?" He's
up?
here every time, just commenting. I guess he's on mobile because you don't have the chat on mobile.
Yeah, thanks for joining us over there. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man. Our Rumbles are popping. They're doing pretty well, and I'm pretty excited about it. But
the only time our Rumble has not gone past YouTube, excluding your YouTube, of course, the only time our Rumbles have not gone past YouTube was when we had that talk last week with Rob. That YouTube one actually did better than
I was gonna say that YouTube one did really well. And I've like told a few people about that episode too, because it was such a good episode. Like that, it was great listening to him. But yeah.
Oh yeah, he went in real depth and detail about all this, and yeah, he's a great guy. He literally, we are coming to the closing arguments of the Proud Boys case, and that case, you guys just need to go check him out because 60 days of the case now, and what they have found just going through that is alarming.
Mm-hmm.
Really is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Um Rumble's been doing us some good. Rumble's been really good to us here. We have like 17 people watching now. At the top of it I saw like 24. That was at the beginning. But it will grow over time as far as that goes. Usually we hit anywhere between 500 to 1,000 views on Rumble for every episode we do. And we just have the lives there. I don't cut them down into little segments like I do for YouTube, which I should, but apparently, like, lives do better than videos do over there on Rumble, unless you're like a
I
big
mean,
name creator.
we can just link we can link that YouTube to Rumble, and it'll just auto
Well, the
auto
problem
populate over there. That's what I have with my YouTubes.
I do that with my YouTube as well, but the problem is, like, when we stream to Rumble and then it populates the YouTube one to Rumble, now you got two of the same thing. So I'd have to go in there and delete the one from YouTube when it populates over. But I mean, we can go with the videos, and I mean
I don't
that's
know.
just an extra step. I can take care of that. That's not a problem.
We'll figure it out, man.
But
I'm
yeah,
pretty. Anyway, so yeah, overall, I think parents, please like just be involved in your children's life. Don't have kids and let the state raise them, unless you just want them to be completely indoctrinated into whatever the state tells them. But I think that's just where we're at. Just another level of personal responsibility as parents. So hopefully, good night, everyone. Peace out, Ashley. Peace out, Warren. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and thank you guys all for joining us over here too. Whatever channel you are watching us on, make sure to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it does help us out in the algorithms. But who else might?
Before we actually do that one, I do want to address this. Cerberus actually does have a great point here. I mean, I grew up in a small town. You also have to consider the difference in raising kids in a small community where everyone knows each other and a big city. Federal laws are often off base. He has a point. I grew up in a small town where literally everybody knew what you had for breakfast before you left the house. It was that small of a town, and we all knew each other. We all knew these things. If one person were to do something, the entire county knew about you before anything were ever to happen. Yes, these federal laws and things like that, they can't be taken really into account as far as that goes because, well, it doesn't quite fit the bill. And if you were to actually do that, it would cause a lot more harm than good in a lot of these small communities. So yes, Cerberus does have a good point with that one. But,
yeah, I mean, I grew up in a small town, but I don't know. It's not a great track record so far, and just honestly, after the introduction of sexual education within schools, things like teenage pregnancy increased. The STI rates amongst like teenagers increased dramatically. Like all of those things have just only ever increased after that was introduced into schools.
But then again, that was the problem with it because, like I said, when I was growing up, mine was this is male, this is female. They go together like this. You'll get AIDS if you do it. Well, now you put a challenge on me. You told me I can't do it. I'm pressing that red button if you tell me not to press the red button. That's their introduction to it. Of course,
well, that wasn't my
table and taboos, so they're going to do it.
I mean, that's not everyone's experience. Like at my school, it was literally just these are all of the different STIs. You need to know about them. Here's all their symptoms. Here's what happens. Here's how you get them. Like it was just literally information. It wasn't anybody's. What's the movie where that it's like the gym teacher's like yelling at the kids and he's like, if you do this, you're gonna get AIDS. And like I can't remember what movie that is.
Yeah,
it's like a teen. Yeah. Is it in Mean Girls? Is it? No. I don't know.
No, that's not that one.
It's really funny though. It's a funny scene. But anyway, like my experience was not like that. And I grew up in a really small town. Like, all right. So, it's just one of those things. Could I ask for a list of things I need to become an amazing YouTuber like you guys? I'm not an amazing YouTuber. Like I'm not even, I don't know. I I don't know what I'm doing, but
Look, my channel is shadow banned. She just picked up and ran. Okay, we're not the ones you
you
need to be
just
asking because we're figuring this out as we go.
yeah. Go. There's actually a lot of really great YouTubers who talk about how to be a YouTuber essentially. So go check a few of their channels out. You really just need a mic, a camera, lights, like good lighting, and like not a crazy chaotic background. Like I'm pushing my luck over here. Okay, I need to redo mine, but because I don't know that kind of stuff. Cool backgrounds are cool and everything, but there's some people like I don't know. It's just distracting sometimes if you have like if you're just like in your living room or something and it's not like kind of set up a little bit nicely. Anyway, that's just as me as a viewer, but no, like that's really all you need, man. And like editing software probably.
I use a green screen because I used to stream gameplay, and having a background in gameplay kind of cuts off the screen. Just you sitting there with in a green screen situation is a lot better. But yeah, I just don't want to get rid of the green screen because even if I had this mansion, I still wouldn't want anybody to know what's behind me if I'm supposed to be the one entertaining.